At today's shareholder press conference, CEO Muhlenberg stopped short of taking direct blame for the 737 MAX initial iteration of the MCAS design. When asked, how are you going to regain public trust, in other words, what happened, Dennis said that the two accidents were a chain of events, which we can all agree on, caused by MCAS activation due to erroneous angle of attack inputs. Because of this chain of events, Dennis said that he will break the chain by redesigning the MCAS system. That's the new fix that we discussed in the previous updates. But he also said that he confirmed the design and certification per our standards. There was no technical slip or gap. When asked about how come the pilots didn't know much about MCAS to begin with, and what about this latest Wall Street Journal report about the AOA disagree light being disabled on Southwest aircraft, Dennis stuck to his guns, saying that MCAS is not an anti-stall system. It's built into the aircraft and designed to perform behind the scenes, not requiring any additional training on behalf of the pilots. Regarding the AOA disagree lights, of course, that is no longer optional equipment. After being grilled by Congress, those options are no longer optional. You just automatically get two angle of attack indicators and an AOA disagree light on every new 737 MAX aircraft produced today. The angle of attack gauge is shown here on the pilot's flying display in the upper right-hand corner. This is a normal indication on the pilot's flying display. If either one of the two angle of attack vanes fails or the output of the angle of attack fails, this is what the PFD will look like. The angle of attack indicator is off scale high. The old indicated airspeed IAS disagree light is on. The standard altitude disagree light is on, and the new angle of attack disagree light is on. Time to hand fly the aircraft, set a known pitch and power setting, and sort out whose set of instruments is correct and whose are incorrect. When pressed about the original design iteration of MCAS only having one single AOA input without any redundancy, Dennis again reiterated, well, at this point he kind of threw the pilots of the accident aircraft under the bus. He claimed that it's the runaway stabilizer trim procedure that needs to be followed, and that the pilots in these two accidents did not follow exactly correctly. When further pressed to admit that the initial MCAS design was a flawed design, CEO Muhlenberg said that we followed the steps regarding the design process and the certification process, and that we're making continuous improvements to the product. Now let's go over some of those numbers from the earnings call, and that'll give us a little better picture of what goes on behind the scenes at Boeing in developing these new aircraft. The new 737 MAX with the new MCAS software package now has 135 flights and 230 hours total time on the aircraft, and they hope to get this aircraft off to the FAA soon for recertification, hopefully to get this whole thing done by about the June time frame, but airlines around the U.S. are looking at more like August before they get the 737 MAX back online. So what's been the cost to Boeing so far for all of this? According to Greg Smith, Chief Financial Officer, they're looking at about $1 billion, but with a B, $1 billion in cost so far for the 737 MAX production line lack of production. This cost is simply the difference between the production rate that was previously scheduled of 52 aircraft per month to the current production rate of only 42 aircraft per month. It's this production rate, or block numbers as they call it, that drives the profit at Boeing Aircraft. The difference between 52 aircraft per month being produced versus 42 is has cost Boeing for the first quarter of 2019 $1 billion. That means they've had to bring extra resources, manpower, onto the 737 program to fix MCAS, at the same time have less number of aircraft go out the door.